chick flicks, romantic comedies, rom-coms. You love them, you hate them, but we are here to eviscerate them. Welcome to the RomCom Killjoys podcast. I'm your host, Jonelle Walker. Now, let's get on with some feminist joy killing. All right, everybody, welcome back to the show for a very, very special episode of RomCom Killjoys because it's Mother's Day, or it's about to be, and I have the good fortune of being with my mom on Mother's Day for the first time in many, many years, probably 10 years.
Woo-hoo.
So our guest this week is my mama, Denise Walker. Mom, will you tell the people about yourself?
Let's see. I've been an educator for 18 years, and right now I'm working with a program that it's a school gardening program. So we grow production gardens, and kids get to work in the gardens, and they get to take the food home, and it's very gratifying. Since the schools are closed right now, we're just doing full-on production and delivering the food to the kids.
So, Mom, what movie are we talking about this week?
Just because I said so.
Oh, because you said so. Mm-hmm.
I've never said that to you.
Never once. So the movie we're talking about this week is one of the few, I think we decided, few rom-coms that has like a big prominent mother character who's not like a mother-in-law. I think we decided that, didn't we? So here we go. The movie is Because I Said So, the year of our Lord 2007. And here is what Google has to say this movie is about. Google says, Daphne Wilder, played by Diane Keaton, is the proud mother of three women. Millie, played by Mandy Moore, Maggie, played by Lauren Graham, and May, Piper Perabo. And her love for her offspring knows no bounds. Because her youngest always chooses the wrong man, she decides to take action to prevent Millie from repeating the mistakes of the past. Dating disaster ensues when Daphne tries to achieve her goal by placing an online personal ad for Millie. So, Mom, that's what Google says it's about. But what is this movie really about?
It's really about a mom overstepping her boundaries. It's something that, as parents and me as a mother, I always think about. Am I saying something that's going to cause an action by my child that's not going to be good for them? So it's, in some ways, it's kind of scary.
Okay, so then in this case, you can probably relate more to Diane Keaton than you can to Millie's character. So where do you think Diane Keaton overstepped? Where do you think she crossed the line?
Placing the personal ad.
And what's wrong with that, Mom? Just a mom looking out for her daughter, pimping her out to various strangers.
First of all, I thought it was hilarious that she did that, especially the ad was hysterical. Oh, that might be just dabbling in your child's life a little bit much. Just like my mom always wanted me to marry a good Mormon boy. So she'd trot these Mormon boys around the house. And I would just go off and leave.
You'd ghost them?
Yeah.
To use a modern term?
This poor guy one time, I was all dressed up. I was getting ready to go out to a club. And he was cute. This little Mormon boy goes, but I want to go. And I said, like, you don't want to go. I jumped in my Volkswagen and left. So yeah, moms do those things, and my mom sometimes would tell me how to wear my hair, or wouldn't you look cute in that, like a drop waist dress?
But so I think in this case, what's interesting is that, especially because the Google description really goes after Millie a little bit, which I found kind of offensive. Because like Mandy Moore's character, it seems like, I don't know, what do we know about her? Like she was hooking up with some guy at her sister's wedding, and then she was dating some guy who ended up sleeping with her ex-boyfriend. So we get the sense that she doesn't pick the best guys, but her mom seems to think that she's incapable of picking a guy for herself. What do you think about that? Because of course, like, mother wants best, mother knows best, etc. But when is it stop being advice and start becoming like judgments and like telling your kid what to do?
I think it was a huge judgment on the mom's part, but also a fear that her daughter was going to be alone, and that is scary. That your daughter might be alone and she doesn't really want to be alone. So I think there's a real fear on her part about that, but it probably puts her daughter down a little bit too, that her daughter can't handle her own life and her romances. Hey, I don't even pick clothes for you.
That's true, listeners. She does not. Yeah, and it's interesting because when we were watching the movie, I remember you asked me to guess who Mandy Moore was going to end up with, because you've seen this a bunch of times and I had never seen it before. I guessed right because, it's my job to watch these things and understand how they work. But I was telling you that the reason I thought that was because in the end, the musician always gets the girl in these movies. And why do you think that is?
Well, he's the underdog. It's an underdog story.
And we root for the underdog. But do you think that Johnny, the musician in this case, was actually the right guy for her? Do you think they were a good match? Like, is the underdog actually the guy you should root for?
I don't know. It kind of killed everything for me when I found out the actor that played his father was involved in pornography.
Yeah.
But
I'm sorry, Mom.
Anyway, I thought he was cuter and had a better personality, more understanding. Mm-hmm. I thought he was way better for her than the controlling guy.
But what about that terrible sun tattoo on his hand?
What about that?
It was terrible.
It was drawn on. It was
real.
For the purpose of the movie.
But his character really had the tattoo.
I don't know. I don't have feelings one way or the other about the tattoo. Mm-hmm. I think tattoos are. Well, I won't say any more about that.
For the listeners at home, I have 2 tattoos, so we'll leave that there.
Yeah.
So here's another question that I have about the way that the movie is structured. The bad guy, the controlling rich architect guy who her mother prefers, his name's Jason, right?
Right.
Why do you think she picked the wrong guy for her daughter?
Because that's the guy she wanted. She would have picked if she had been her daughter's age. Mm-hmm. The guy who speaks Italian to you and orders a mushroom dish for you, and has this kind of suave persona. I think it's like the polka dot dress.
Yeah, that she makes her buy because she thinks it's fetching, and all she does is wear polka dots.
That's right. And she ends up giving it back to her mother.
But isn't it funny how the movie makes it seem like there are objectively like good guys, like worthwhile guys, and bad guys, like guys not worth going out with, but they also make it clear that Diane Keaton and Mandy Moore's characters just have like totally different tastes in guys. What do you think that's about? Is there a generation divide, or is it just that like Diane Keaton's character also has bad taste in men?
Obviously, she married the father, and that didn't turn out very well, especially in regard to her sex life. That was pretty bad. That
was pretty rough. That made me so sad.
I think she was trying to correct the mistakes of her life through her daughter.
Do you think that's a good thing to do?
No, but I think it's natural to do it.
Why do you think it's natural? Why do you think moms like find themselves drawn to that? I mean, obviously you don't do it on purpose. You just like find yourself doing it. Why do you think that happens?
Well, I don't know. I didn't get to go off to college, so I encouraged you to go way far away, which was a mistake in retrospect. But I think we want our kids to do the things we couldn't do or weren't able to do. I always wanted you guys to travel, and neither you nor Andrew have huge wanderlust, really. So that's very interesting to me, because if somebody had offered me a European trip, I would have taken it. But Andrew, your brother, said no. Went hiking on the Appalachian Trail. Who would have thunk it?
Hey, well, as because I said so tells us, sometimes your kids want things that you don't understand.
That's true. Mm-hmm. That's very true. So you have to keep that in mind, I think, as a parent, is that your kids may like to wear things that your kids might want to wear things that you don't think are very nice, and your kids might want to get tattoos when you don't really like them very much. And that was a lesson for my father, because my father was in the Navy and forever was embarrassed about a Navy tattoo that he got. So he always wore long sleeves when all of his co-workers, his geologist friends, were wearing short sleeves.
So you wanted us to learn from the mistakes of the past, and instead we didn't.
I don't know if they were mistakes, just things I didn't get to have.
No, I meant more Papa John's
Oh,
tattoos.
Papa John's. Yeah, Papa John's tattoo. Yeah. Well, they weren't, tattoos weren't popular when I was growing up. You were either disco or you were a silk and wool.
A silk and wool? What
Yeah.
does that mean?
You either wore the flashy stuff and the big earrings and the big hair, or you were wearing wool and silk glasses and pearls.
Ooh. Well, so where would Diane Keaton fall on that spectrum? Because I told you that I was upset about how uncool this movie makes Diane Keaton. Because I guess I think of her as being really cool, but you said you don't.
In one variation or another, she always plays that kind of role, uptight, a prude, and that's the role she plays in First Wives Club too, as well as good as it gets.
Well, so what do you think about how the movie portrays her as a woman? I mean, I guess she turns 60 during the course of the movie, but like a woman in her 50s and or 60s, like how do you think about how she's portrayed?
I would love to be 60 and look like her. Although I think she was even older in this picture than 60. I thought she looked great. This is somebody that was kind of starting over and having fun finally. So for me, I think that gives people my age hope.
And all those wide belts.
And petticoats.
And the petticoats. You would look great in a wide belt and a petticoat.
Oh, no.
You would.
No. I've never worn well, I did in the 80s. Wore a white belt and the skirts. But that was the 80s. This was like 2000s?
2007 was the year this came out.
I thought it was just a character, but I liked her character.
What did you like about her?
I thought she just went above and beyond for her kids and really loved her, did everything for them, while, running her own pretty productive and lucrative business.
Yeah, I kind of wish we learned more about how, because the film, using film language, montage and parallels and all of that, shows us that Millie really probably went into catering because her mom is a pastry chef. And
right.
I wish that they had actually sort of like talked about that a little more, because I think that there's a lot there.
And that was during a period of time when they did a lot of those movies about food, although they showed mostly cakes, and I thought the tangerine buttercream sounded really good.
Or the orange blossom cheesecake.
Yeah. So I think there are a lot of movies that came after that one that were about food.
What did you think about I found it really amusing because we're such a big food family and, eating, cooking, and baking family. The scene where Millie decides, like, once and for all that Jason is not the right guy for her because she burns a chocolate souffle for the first time in her life.
That came after a few other events, like his mother talking about how he met this girl on the internet.
I know, but isn't it funny that, like, the souffle was the thing that made her go, like, that's my sign? Because that actually happens, and then she hears the mother say that.
I thought the other thing came before that.
Mm-mm.
Oh,
souffles first.
Oh, that's right. But then she decides that that's it. I burned the souffles. Time to get out.
Mm-hmm. Like, what do you think is the literary significance of that? Because I kept thinking, like, there is some deep symbolism that at some point the screenwriter of this was, like, really thinking about with this souffle burning, and it just got lost by the time they got to draft 8, and they were like, we need to make this movie, like, stop trying to be serious.
That was nuts. Yeah, exactly. I think that happens to people a lot. Somehow it's that one little thing that just, it's that stick that broke the camel's back or whatever.
Signs from the universe.
Signs from the universe saying, that's it, no more. And she already knew. She knew from the get-go this guy wasn't going to be for her. And her mother knew at the dinner with her parents.
Do you think so?
Oh, yeah.
She had been convinced?
Mm-hmm. She was watching her daughter. And she was also, this guy was being pushed on her, the uncle.
Oh, yeah, he was horrible. He's like, why do men want to order things for women? That's so weird.
I've never had anyone ever do that to me.
It's always shown in movies, and I feel like it's got to be this really antiquated thing, because Mandy Moore at one point is like, I hated what you ordered for me that first date we went on. And I was like, if a man ever tried to order food for me, I would leave. That would be it. I would be like, goodbye.
Well, he sort of does it in a romantic way. He gets it out of the way, and he thinks he knows what she's going to like.
Ugh. Gross.
But I honestly have never had anybody order for me, ever. And, in the day, I had to take this charm course. And the lady said, now, if you go out to dinner on a date, you always order the chicken, the cheapest thing on the menu. I was like, why? He gets to order a steak and I have chicken?
Because you want to show him you're a cheap date, I guess.
That stinks.
It does stink.
I don't think
terrible.
I ever ordered the chicken. Has anybody ever ordered for you?
No. Oh my God. Or if they did, I blacked out from my anger about
They order fish and eggs for you?
A fish omelet, my favorite meal. One of the big questions that this movie asks, I think implicitly, is that like old adage, mother knows best. But the movie seems to answer that mother does not know best. But I wonder, does mother know best?
Deep down, she knew best. That was a mistake.
Okay, but what does that mean?
It means she was trying to get her daughter married off, and in trying to do that, she did the wrong thing. Maybe deep down, she didn't know what was best. Especially since she found the handsome father of the
Jason.
Johnny.
Jason was the bad one. Too many J names.
Yeah, too many J's.
So she knew. So really, in the end, maybe this rom-com is actually not about Mandy Moore's character, but it's about Diane Keaton's character, because in the end, she's the one that ends up getting married.
Yes.
So she knew best for her.
She knew best for her, but it was about the whole family dynamic, which was really interesting because I don't think even with my sister have we ever talked about sex like that.
Yeah, that was pretty intense.
Let me ask you, would you?
Oh no, don't do it.
Whatever's
about to happen, don't do it.
What would you think if I asked you a question like that?
What question? Oh God, I'm scared.
The one about the orgasm.
No! I would do that. I would just say no, and I would run away.
You'd run away.
Just run away.
Just so you know, I would never ask you that.
That's good, except for that you just did, sort of, kind of, implicitly.
No, I asked you what you do if I did that. But she's constantly being embarrassed by the conversation between her daughters. But I don't think I ever talked around. We talked to Grandma like that. Now, Grandma did.
Well, that's a different dynamic now.
Yeah, kind of weird.
Well, so I don't have any sisters. Mm-hmm. So did you feel like the sister dynamic in the movie was realistic?
I did. I did think it was realistic. I liked their dynamic a lot.
What about it?
I liked the bantering back and forth and how protective they were of each other. And in some ways, except for them not telling her about the ad, they were pretty respectful of each other. And they had that normal thing where nobody wants to be around Mom.
I want to
be
around you. Which I thought was
very interesting, since they pushed her on to the Mandy Moore character.
Oh, right, when she was
I thought that was really very realistic. About how you do this little dance with your siblings. Oh, no, I've got to work. I can't do that. I can't take care of her.
Did you and Aunt Rachie do rock, paper, scissors to see who was going to have Grandma spend the night?
No, Rachel just said, well, I don't. I have stairs.
Pretty solid reason.
I was like, okay, I don't have any stairs, so she can come here.
So the openness in the movie is sort of funny, though, because I do feel like, even though I don't have any sisters, that even if I did, I don't think that we would talk like that openly in front of you. Because I talked to you about dating, but not like that.
It was funny, but it wasn't very realistic, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. And why do you think that is? I mean, I feel like sometimes people want to believe, it's sort of weird, like, relationships between women, even like intergenerational relationships between women, are usually pretty open and pretty honest, I think. But that's one sort of configuration of women together, mothers and daughters, where that openness is not necessarily there. But people want to believe that it is, kind of that Gilmore Girls fantasy, like, you tell your mom everything, and she tells you everything, and da-da-da-da-da.
Well, I have to say it might be uniquely American because, and I don't know this for sure, but when Maria,
my grandmother.
No. Maria Alvira.
Oh, Maria Alvira, my cousin, my god cousin.
Or something like that. Anyway, friend of the family. She was staying with us and we had whipped cream or something. She goes, ooh, for my boyfriend. I was just incredulous. Maria, what are you saying? She goes, I would tell that to my mother. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm just an American prude.
Well, Maribel, Maria, if you listen to this, you should let us know if that conversation ever happens. Yeah, it could be a very American thing. I mean, Americans are definitely prudes about sex and dating, probably.
That's what I understand, that we don't think of it. There's different ways of thinking of it in other places. I don't think Americans are completely unique, but...
True. But so do you think then that, like, if there were, sometimes we talk on the show about, like, what would happen if an older rom-com were remade today, and I really wonder, like, how this would have worked if her mom had made her a Tinder profile instead.
Tinder? Ooh.
Do you know how Tinder works?
Oh, I swipe left, swipe right.
That's the
kind of stuff where you tell them either you don't want to do it or you do.
Yeah. So, like, if you made a Tinder profile for me, yeah, you'd be, like, surreptitiously, like, swiping left and swiping right on guys and then matching them for a date and doing Diane Keaton hijinks.
Wouldn't that be sick if I put baby pictures?
I just want to point out that earlier in this episode, you were upset that the one character in this movie was played by a guy who was caught up for child porn. So I just want to note that we're circling back on these themes.
I'm just kidding for anybody who's listening.
For the FBI, if you're listening.
For the FBI. Oh, it would be my tendency, though, because you were so cute when you were little.
Oh, thanks.
Such a princessa.
Well, but so do you think that that's part of why her mom is not so good at picking a good match for her in this case, because she's sort of stuck with a certain idea of her? I mean, we talked about her projecting a version of herself onto her daughter, too. But she's also kind of imagining, like, a cookie-cutter perfect version of her daughter that wants a guy who has money and has, like, family connections and, like, a really stable career, doesn't have a son because Johnny has a son, right?
I don't know. I think it was born more out of a mother's worst fear that their child's going to be hurt by somebody else. Just devastated. And I think she looks at the musician as somebody who's not stable and would hurt him on a heartbeat, hurt her daughter on in a heartbeat. So I think that that's part of it, is that mothers always fear that their children are going to be hurt, and it doesn't just mean physically, but also emotionally. So I think that was part of it, was that this architect was going to be really stable, and he was going to be sensible, and he wouldn't, throw her to the curb.
All right, Mom. So if it was me, would you want me to be with the musician or the architect?
Mm-hmm. That's a very good question. No, I honestly think I would like you to be with the one you like the most.
What if I like the architect the most? What if I was like, this guy who orders my food for me and tells me what to do and tells me that I say great too much and that I should stop snorting? If I was like, that guy's my guy. What up?
I've been in that position with you. I would be very reluctant to say anything unless I felt like you were physically being hurt, especially if you really liked him. I might start talking to you very like I do. I might just start whispering it in your ear. Brainwashing.
Just a little hint here and there. Not opening a personal ad on my behalf, but just a little nudge.
Yeah, it would have been like that. Get away from him. He's not good for you. Yeah, that is hard.
Well, so in the end, what do you think is the big lesson about this movie? And maybe, like, what is the big lesson about mothers and daughters in matters of the heart?
I think the big lesson is how complicated it can be, and how you have to trust your children to make their choices, their life choices like that. And it's really hard when you see all this, you see the news and you see these crime shows and people make bad choices and end up getting really hurt, either physically or emotionally or financially even. So I think that it's a complicated situation. It's not like they tried to make it simple. It was pretty complicated in some ways. So I have to respect that part off, but it always, in the end, it makes me think, where are my boundaries with my children?
Mm-hmm. Well, and I will neither confirm nor deny that there is a date in my near future, and my mom wants to be sure that this date is not a serial killer. So,
yeah, you see, I can't do all this stuff because when you're in D.C., I can't see you do these things. But now that you're here and I know you're doing them, I could play the Catascopo, the spy.
Catascopo? What is that?
I wear my little helmet.
A spy helmet? What is a spy helmet?
I don't know. It's that hat that he wore in the lounge.
Ooh, in what
The fedora.
lounge?
I wear the fedora.
Oh, yes, Johnny's terrible fedora. Yeah,
And
that'll be your spy hat.
And my trench coat.
And your trench coat. It'll be great.
And my gum shoes.
And your gum shoes. Filled with gum?
No.
No.
They have gum soles, so they like have a sticky slap.
Slap, slap, slap.
Yep.
That'll be very
Hear me
subtle.
coming.
Yeah, I think I agree with you that it does show how complicated these things can be, that it's not as simple as like, Mom, don't tell me what to do, or like, listen to me, I know best. There's a definite middle ground of taking advantage of how sometimes your mom knows you better than you know yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But also sometimes you know that you feel something real that you have to pursue, even if in the end it's not going to work out. Because the pursuit of it is the important part sometimes.
Well, yeah, and then obviously most of the time you don't know if it's going to work out. You have either a good feeling, or you have an ambivalent feeling, or you have a bad feeling. But I think you can never know what people are going to do. And how did you feel about it overall?
About what?
The movie. Did you hate it?
I didn't hate it. It's not a great movie, but at least it's light on its feet, moves quickly, it doesn't try to be something it's not. But I do hate Johnny's hat. I hate Johnny's stupid fedora so
and
much.
his tattoo.
And his stupid tattoo. I think it's just because, like, you know, I was 16 in 2011, or not 2011, sorry, 2007. And there's just something about his style that is just so painfully, like, teenage to me. So I can't handle it.
He did not wear that hat well. You're right. It didn't look like it fit him on his head. Maybe they just made a costume error.
And also, like, do you know how like fedoras have now become associated with like really annoying guys?
Really?
Yeah. So
no, I don't know that. I haven't been looking for guys with fedoras lately.
Well, when you do find them, they're the worst.
Okay, I'll be on the lookout. I'll keep them away from you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You and your gum shoes. Yeah. Can keep those fedora men away from me.
Yeah.
Okay, Mom.
Is the time come?
The time has come. First, I before we move on to the inevitable conclusion of this exciting special episode, I want to shout out to our Patreon sponsors. You guys are the best. You continue to be awesome and to support the show. And that is Esther, Bob, Sean, Robert, and Emily. You all are great. Thank you so much for your support.
You just said great.
Excuse me with the callbacks. Oh my God, I snorted too. I'm becoming her.
Andy Moore.
I am Mandy Moore. Now you're Diane Keaton, so your dream has come true.
Oh yeah. If I got up in the morning and looked in the mirror and I was Diane Keaton, I'd be thrilled.
I mean, I feel the same way about being Mandy Moore, so all of our dreams are coming true.
That's right.
It's time for Antidotes, Mom. So every week on the show, we offer up suggestions, recommendations, antidotes to the horrors of these movies that I force myself to watch for this podcast. What's your antidote, Mom?
Like what? Didn't I give you plenty of antidotes already?
No, so you have to, so this is the part of the show where, like, you have to, like, do a little bit where you talk about your antidote. So I say, like, Mom, what's your antidote? And you say, my antidote, because I said so, is blah, blah, blah.
You go first.
No, you go first. That's not the format. That's not the format. You have to follow the format.
I'm supposed to tell a story?
No. So I have never had to explain this to someone before. Okay, so Mom, I pitch it over to you and I say, hey, Mom, what's your antidote for because I said so? And then you say,
I don't know.
No, remember earlier when I asked you before we started recording, what is your antidote to because I said so?
Is this my recommendation?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I have to say that I thought of a new one, which I really think is hilarious because it's a physical comedy, and that's Monster-in-Law.
Monster-in-Law. What is that one about? Tell the people.
Jane Fonda and J-Lo, and she meets this cute doctor, and they have a great relationship, and she's an artist, and his mother does not want them to get married, so she moves in with them and does everything she can to split them up, and the physical comedy is really hilarious. So it's light and funny, and it's just as stupid as all the rest of these. People are going to love it.
My antidote for Because I Said So is a book by Janet Fitch that my mom actually introduced me to called White Oleander.
Oh.
It's very dark, but it's a dark and interesting exploration of a kind of twisted and complicated relationship between a mother and daughter. It's one of my favorite books, actually. And I think it's an interesting antidote for this movie because this movie kind of explores the light and loving and airy side of mother-daughter relationships, and White Oleander explores a kind of darker underbelly to those relationships that is a nice contrast if you like a little bitter with your sugar, like I do.
That would be arsenic in your coffee. I mean.
Well, Mom, thanks for being on my show.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I had a great time.
I'm glad. We have to come up with a bit where you say, because I said so. Why should I have you on the show?
Because I said so.
We did it.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the RomCom Killjoys podcast. If you liked this episode, make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at RomCom Killjoys. And if you'd like to support us further, you can become a patron at patreon.com/romcomkilljoys to gain access to exclusive bonus content. Our theme song is Lady Slut Hitchhike Love by the band A Giant Dog. And the song you're listening to now is a cover of one of my favorites, Baby Love, by Colin Langanis. Remember, Killjoys, don't let anyone kill your joy. Not a rom-com, not me, not anyone. See you next time.